Okay, let's try this again. Hello. It is Kathryn Massell, 5D Visionary Elevated Consciousness Coach. Hello. We are in All Things Ascension, episode 17. Armchair Awakening. Let's see who's going to jump on and be with us live. Okay. I'm going to have a little water. All right, so welcome to this talk. Couple things before I get into it here. I have an upcoming free live class where I'm going to be discussing the benefits of working with ESP, which is Elevated Superconscious Perception. This is a way of tuning in. It's not a modality. It is a way of tuning into who you really are at the soul level of self. This allows you to do a whole host of things, which I'm going to go into in this live call on Zoom. And I will put the link for that in the comments. If you can't make it live, it's going to be at 11 a.m. Pacific time this Monday, April 19th, 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you can't make it live, if you are signed up to my email list, you will be sent a replay on Monday evening. So if you're not on my email list, sign up now. You can go to kathrynmassell.com. A little light box will pop up after about 5 seconds, and you can just go ahead and throw your name and your email in there, and I will send you this replay. It'll also be up on my YouTube channel if you follow me on YouTube. This is a 5-week deep dive masterclass into the superconscious and using soul stream breathing, soul streaming breath work to align you to the superconscious self. This is a very deep connection to the superconscious through breath work, which allows for euphoric states of bliss, ecstatic release, relieves tension, anxiety, stress, as well as uplifting you to your soul level of being, so that you can be in an expanded state of mind beyond the conscious, beyond the subconscious mind. So if you want to know more about that and have a super conscious journey experience in this live free call on Monday, you're going to want to join that. And the masterclass starts on the 27th of May. It goes for 5 weeks. All 5 consecutive weeks are at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And yeah, you can find out more about that. I'll put the link here in the comments. So today I want to talk about something that maybe isn't the most popular thing to talk about. You know, everyone likes to hear, not everyone, but a lot of people like to hear that ascension is all love and light and expansion. It is that. But we'd be doing a disservice, those of us who are here to hold and bear the light on this planet, we would be doing a disservice to all of you by letting you think that's all there is, that it's all love and light. It isn't. There's a lot of darkness, but we're not here to eradicate the darkness. That is not our job. We are here to tip the point of mass consciousness. And as I've said many times, all we need is 51% of the planet to do that. But it's not just feeling your way into love and light and having an emotional connection and resonance with unity consciousness. It has to be anchored. And so when I talk about armchair awakening, perhaps you've heard the term armchair activist, right? That there are those who would profess to want to see radical change, but they take no action to realize that. The same is true with awakening for a lot of people. And what this looks like is that you know, a lot of times we'll understand or kind of comprehend on maybe even a surface level of what ascending into elevated consciousness means. And it means that we're doing a lot of shadow release. We're playing with a lot of shadow. Hey, Jonte. Hey, Barb. I'm just seeing these people showing up now. So say hello. Let me know you're here. You know, we've done the inner work. We are doing the inner work of dealing with our shadow and seeing where, and hopefully getting very honest with ourselves, where we are out of alignment with Source, where we are not in alignment with pure Source consciousness, with God, one all, whatever you want to call it. That is the work of doing shadow release, is to get ourselves more and more in alignment with pure Source, meaning there's no distortion, there's no disruption, there's no static in the broadcast of who you are as a resonant being who is all vibration and frequency and energy, and your connection to the purity of Source. The more distortion we have there, the more we're out of alignment with Source. And you're either in or you're out. You are either in alignment with Source or you're out of alignment with Source. There's really no gray area. You can feel a higher resonance and a higher connection with Source being, but you're either in or out. There's really no gray area there. And there are ways that we can know more and more that we are out of alignment with Source. And it is this, basically, that if we are noticing as we're doing more shadow release and we're clearing the things, all that which we are not, basically, the things that have been built up in our conditioning, our programming, our patterning, that tell us that we're unworthy, that tell us we're unlovable, that tell us we are lesser than, right? All illusory, all a fabrication, all ego self leading the charge and driving the bus. None of this is true. We have been conditioned to believing that there is a template of lack. There is no such thing. And I'm constantly reminded by my spirit team that if there was an energy grid that coded for lack, none of us would be here. Okay? Which, that was kind of like a facepalm moment. I was like, what? Oh my God, makes so much sense. Thanks for breaking it down so easy so that I could get it. But when we are doing this shadow clearing and we are emotionally evolving our humanness so that we feel like we're at a higher resonance or pitch in our energy, and maybe we're not in full alignment with Source, but we are doing the work to get there. It's not just about the inner work. It isn't. It never was. Everything about this human experience is to be in a human body, not to try to get away from it, not to try to escape it, not to go home and leave the body. The body is your vessel for divine expression in this lifetime and timeline. And it is through this vessel, this container, it holds our divinity, it holds our spirit, it holds our soul being. There is no way to express our spirituality other than from this vessel. And there is no way to receive these downloads or light codes, ascension frequencies without this vessel. So let's be very clear on that. We're here to have a human experience, not escape from it. And that means the ego too. The ego has obviously conditioning and programming, patterning that takes us out of alignment with Source. But in and of itself, it's not bad. It's simply here to do what it's programmed to do, which is give us the contrast. Show us exactly where we are out of alignment with Source so that we can explore this gift in the garbage and clean it up, release, remove the disturbance, remove the distortion, remove that blockade or barrier that's keeping us in alignment with Source. But it is not just about doing the inner work and working on a different emotional thread or emotional thought narrative for your life to create a new story for yourself. If you are not anchoring it in the physical, you are only exploring lateral loops of ascended consciousness, meaning you kind of keep redirecting your place, your sense of evolution, spiritual evolution, back to the same spot, or in kind of a spiral where you're going to experience the same kind of layers and levels of experience over and over again and say, why does it feel so static for me? Why am I not moving forward? Because this is a physical plane. 3D Earth is a physical plane. This is a plane of action. Movement forward, evolution, is done through a pattern of action. So you may feel like you're doing a lot of good work, and you are, and I'm not negating that, when you are exploring, excavating these layers of shadow, exposing them for the false trickery that they are, telling you you're something that you're not. That's wonderful, and that is only part of the process. Everything about this 3D Earth is about physicality. This is a physical plane. Your inner self must be outwardly projected. It is through this, through taking inspired action and anchoring this change that you feel now that you've upgraded your inner reality. If you are not projecting that on the physical plane by taking some sort of inspired action, you are only in a lateral loop of consciousness, and you will have a feeling of being static. And what this does is it makes you want to crawl out of your skin. And it is because the physicality, the humanness of you is saying, I am out of alignment with my inner reality and my physical self. You're not taking action in the outer physical reality, in the outer plane of 3D Earth, to reflect the changes you've made inside. Does that make sense? So when we are raising our fists in the air and talking about all the injustices of dark agendas and false light, artificial machinery, the imbalance of power, power abuses, structures that have held humanity's identity in place for a long time that are way out of integrity for the highest, best good of all. If we're just raising our fists in the air and screaming about it, but not doing anything to radically change by taking action to realize what you would like unity consciousness to look like, which is in alignment with the God self choice, the God choice, highest and best for you, highest and best for all, and with the least amount of resistance for all involved. If you're not taking action, whether it's on an individual level or a collective level, that aligns with that in your outward reality, you will always experience this distortion, this disconnection. The 3D plane is a realm of physicality and action. And creating a mass tipping point of consciousness is not, and this is, like I said, unpopular, but fuck popular. I've never been popular. I think that is one of the most unwholesome words in the English language, and it doesn't mean anything. It's empty. If we are not taking action that aligns with unity consciousness in the outward plane, all of our moves through the ascended stations of awareness, they're just lateral. We think we're evolving. But if you feel like you want to crawl out of your own skin and you have this disconnect that you can't explain, then I invite you to ask yourself, where are you feeling like things need to be put back into balance on this planet, but you are not taking any action to facilitate that, to actualize that? And it could be anything. I'm going to give you some examples of how this happens on an individual level and a collective level. Hi, Veronica. Thanks for being here. So on an individual level, if we feel like we've done a lot of release, we've looked at a lot of things that have kept us vibrating with a lack code of reality or lack coding for reality. We feel unworthy of money, love, companionship, whatever that might be. And we've done our inner work to correct that. We've dealt with that shadow. We've looked it square in the eye and said, okay, I am not that. I am abundant and I am divinity incarnate. I am love in a body. And we reclaimed that for ourselves. That's wonderful. And I want to applaud you because it's hard work. And I'm not saying it's not. But if you are taking no direct action as a result of this upgrade of you, because that's what it is, you've upgraded your frequency through this work that you've done. But if you've not taken any action in your outward reality to solidify, to cement that, you're going to feel like you want to crawl out of your own skin. You're going to feel static. You're going to feel like nothing is moving, nothing is happening. That's because nothing is. Because in this 3D realm of action, you must take some step that cements this inner shift to shift your outer reality. Then and only then do you have a good mirror projection that matches each other and there is no dissonance. You have coherence instead. And a lot of things start to really evolve and break through. You feel like you break through this glass ceiling in your life because you really do. You move into a new threshold, a new ascended station of awareness, a higher octave of you. Meaning the harmonic vibration of you ascends, it evolves, it elevates. That's always going to bring a fresh set of circumstances in your life that align with an abundance template, with who you believe you truly are on a divinity level, your human divinity that you're here to express. You start aligning with your soul tribe more and more. You know, people who resonate at the same level as you, and you have this spiritual, physical, emotional, mental common ground. And a lot of other wonderful cascade effects. But here's the rub, and here's why we stop ourselves on an individual level. Because on an ego level, which is always at work, I mean, you're never going to suppress the ego. You're never going to downtrod the ego. You're never going to get rid of the ego. The best we can do is learn how to live with it. And tell it, you know what, you're in the passenger seat. You're not in the driver's seat anymore. I've seen where that's gotten us. You're going to have to trust me to have my spiritual level of me be in the driver's seat. And you can chime in. I'll still listen to you, ego, but I may not always take your advice. You don't want to smash it down. You want to work with it. Make the ego your friend. Your life will be a lot easier if you learn how to do that. But you have to realize, and there is a part of you in the ego self and the subconscious programming that fears losing stability, that fears losing safety, that fears losing security. There's going to be that voice, maybe I was going to say little voice, but it's probably going to be big voice that says, don't speak your truth. You may feel this inner shift, but let's hedge our bets. Let's hedge our bets and wait for a little bit, see what everybody else is doing. I'll kind of dip my toe and maybe say a few things here to see if it's okay to truly express my authentic self now that I've upgraded in frequency, and we'll see how that goes. You are always cheating yourself. You are always holding yourself back. This is always going to be the ego that's doing that to you. It's never your higher God self aspect that does that to you. Your higher God self aspect is screaming from the rooftops, this is who I am, and I'm freaking amazing. Everybody look, I finally realized it myself, and now I'm letting you all in on this great secret. I'm awesome. I'm divinity in a body. Look how cool this is. Look what I can do, right? That's your God self. But the ego self, the first thing it says to you, you're going to lose people. You're going to lose your job because you realize how soul-sucking it is and how out of alignment it is with what you really truly want and what you're here to express. You feel like maybe I'll even lose friends that I've known my whole life. I'll lose family members. I'll lose what's familiar to me. I'll lose what is known to me. And there's that lack identity again. Taking charge of your reality, calling the shots. Highlighting all the things that are going to limit you. But are you really limited if you're living at the level of self, where you're in your true, authentic expression? Because you're worried about some haters. And I know I'm not trying to be glib about this. I have worked with clients many, many times who have lost family members. Their own kids disown them. Okay? That is one of the fallouts of elevating your vibration. You can't take some people with you on that ride. And so if you stay the old self and you try to pretend that this is okay, this disconnect that you feel, that is putting you out of alignment with your own heartfelt love of yourself, who are you really helping if you decide to stay where you are and not take physical action, outwardly project this inner shift that you feel and you know and you can't fucking deny it? Here's the thing about haters. I'm going to make a little post about this later too. You could have Jesus Christ come back from the dead and preach nothing but brotherly love and kindness and connection and compassion and love, and let's heal the planet and let's heal each other and let's come together as brothers and sisters, because that's who we really are. He'll still have haters. There's always going to be some motherfucker who decides, this guy's a jerk. What a jerk. You can't win. And if you know that's true, and it is, if Jesus Christ came back preaching nothing but those wonderful things, he would have haters. Guaranteed 100%. And if you know that about you, that doesn't excuse you from the responsibility of self-actualizing this new frequency you're occupying. Because it makes you a traitor to yourself, and it makes you pull back from the wonderful things that you can be doing in the world. This has to start, if you want to make the big collective changes and be a participant in tipping that mass consciousness towards 51%, which is all we need for a mass ascension, you got to look at your stuff and what you're doing on an individual level first. There is no collective without the individual, right? You can't separate those two things out. So what you're doing on an individual level is going to be outwardly projected, and if it isn't, you are out of alignment with self, you're out of alignment with source, you're in a lateral loop of ascended consciousness, and you will feel static, you will feel cut off, you'll feel like you want to crawl out of your own skin. And it doesn't mean that you have to take massive action. But it does mean that you have to be true to who you are as an authentic soul expression of the divine, a human expression of the divine. What do you really want to say? What do you really want to express? Do you even want to just say, hey, I love you to more people? On an individual level, where do you feel like things are really out of alignment in your life? Your marriage is falling apart, but you're staying there out of safety and security. And maybe there's such a gap and a divide between you and your spouse because of what you believe to be true on a soul level that you just can't deny it anymore. This has to be looked at. It has to be examined. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's even simple. Those are two different things. But if you are really noticing that this is happening, it's time to get some help. And if you can't make the changes yourself, it's time to look for someone who can really help you with this. Someone who's been through it. Hire a coach. You got to get honest with yourself. This is going to create a divide that just widens and widens, and this gap just gets bigger and bigger. When the physical action and the inner shift are out of alignment with each other, and it stays that way over time, that gap and that divide gets bigger and bigger. You go into more self-doubt, you go into more hopelessness, you go into more sadness, you feel even more lonely, because you are deliberately cutting yourself off from that higher resonance of you and all of the benefits that come with that. Does that make sense? There has to be coherence between the inner shift and outward action. I can't say this enough. And I see this happening so much. This shift in action is required on Earth because it is a physical plane. Otherwise, you'll always feel this disconnect. Lily says, yes, it's all about being true to us, our truth, what feels right within our souls. Absolutely, Lily. Thanks for being here. Hi, Lorianne. Hi, Kathryn. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Is this resonating? Is this an invitation maybe to take a deeper look at what you're doing? Where are you hedging your bets in your life? Saying, well, I'll just wait and see. That is self-deception, ladies and gentlemen. 101. That is self-delusion. And if you want to anchor a higher consciousness on this planet, it has to start with you. We are in a cosmic hologram. This disconnect you experience on an internal level will always be outwardly projected. You're going to see it play out on the material plane. That's how it works. In the other people you meet, you're going to align with people who also have a disconnect. You're going to align with people who also are not living at the level of their truth and authenticity. On a collective level, you know, I see this a lot in Facebook land. A lot of people raising their fists in the air and talking about the dark. And I've made many posts about this, and especially in this group, in Global Acceleration of Ascension, that what I do and what this group is all about, it's solution-based. When you're in a place of just pointing the finger at the darkness and saying, there it is, congratulations, you're seeing what everyone else is seeing. Great. What are you going to do about it? The Armchair Awakening folks will just raise their fists in the air and scream and yell and cause a big ruckus, but do nothing to create the radical change that it takes to actualize a new way of being that's in alignment with the God choice, that which is highest and best for you, highest and best for everyone, and with the least amount of resistance for all involved. These are the practices and principles of unity consciousness at work, in action, in other words. If you're not taking any outward action to solidify that, you are out of alignment with unity consciousness. You're not really all in creating a mass tipping point of consciousness towards unification. It doesn't matter what cause you decide to champion. There are a million of them. The earth is in need of dire reform, politically, religiously, racially, financially, health-wise. Pick a cause. Pick one thing to champion. It will shift. It'll create this massive shift in your inner reality because it will upgrade you by taking the action outwardly, because those things inform each other. It's a symbiotic relationship. So if you're taking kind of a bold action outwardly, you're going to feel the inner shift. You're going to feel more in alignment with your sovereignty, your God self. And to be sovereign, this is a word that gets thrown around a lot, and is one of those buzzwords of our spiritual community here. That means to be empowered. If you're not taking action where you feel like, I'm taking action because I have the power to say something, if you're not doing that, you're not sovereign. Sorry, not sorry. It involves you taking some action where you are exercising your power. And we have a lot of it. It's just that we've been swindled out of and hoodwinked out of this belief for our entire lives. We talk about power, but none of us really feel like we've totally had it, right? It doesn't mean you can't start today with something. You see something happening politically? Call the White House. You see something happening with the oceans? Start, a GoFundMe page. Start a fundraiser. Do something. Take some action on the physical plane. There are a million things that you can do. We are creative beings. We are problem solvers by nature, where we can see a problem and we have the creative, critical thinking to devise a solution. We are incredibly creative people. We've just been sullied in our thinking by seeing how many people are at work destroying the planet or creating a rift between our connection with Mother Earth. And we think they hold all the power. No, they're just the ones taking the most action. So I know that this is unpopular, but I think I've made my views very clear about popular. This has to be addressed, and I don't see it being addressed enough. We can't just be the armchair awakened, where we sit in the comfort and the loftiness of our armchair and raise our fists in the air and point our finger at the darkness and yet again say, there it is. We have to do more. And it only means you have to do one thing. And here's the effect of that. It feels so good to be an active participant in the upgrading of the consciousness of this planet that it's addictive. You want to do more. You want to be more. You want to help more. To be in alignment with the principles and practices of unity consciousness is to want to be of more help. To be in alignment with the principles of unity consciousness is to know that I am here to be of more help, and I'm allowing myself to receive more help. We have to be on the receiving end of that too. If you're working on something, some level of shadow, something that needs to be released within you, and you feel like you've thrown everything at it at this point, and it's just you working on this, it's time to suck it up and ask somebody for help. If you are not willing to be of greater service to the planet, that usually means you have a rift in either helping others or being helped. Allow yourself to be helped more. It has a reciprocal effect. It has an effect that gains momentum in your energy field as well. You want to be of more help, and you want to receive more help. And we receive that in gratitude in greater levels too, when we allow ourselves to receive help. So I invite you to just chew on this. I'm not going to talk too much more about this. But understand that if you're experiencing some level of being really static in your life right now, this might be the direct reason why you feel this rift. And without addressing this divide, I'm telling you, it just gets bigger. This gap just gets wider. And if you are operating out of a sense of fear that I'm going to lose people, I'm going to lose something of value to me, let me remind you, you've been taught and learned into, conditioned to this idea, this belief system your whole life, that if you don't follow certain rules, you'll lose everything. This is a prevailing theme from the time that we are little kids, tiny humans. When we first occupy a body, and we're so close to our divinity at that point, we are so close to our soul level of being at that point. But we come into this density, and the messaging and the theme and the story that we have everything to lose if we don't play ball or play by the rules. This is just conditioning. It is not true. The benefits, the wonderful features of living in alignment with self, where your outward action, your outward projection of you matches your inner reality shift. There are so many untold, countless benefits. You align with your soul tribe. You meet more people. You find those folks that are here to perhaps even lend a helping hand and say, hey, I was there. Here's how I got out of this. We find our helpers. We find our tribe. We find our right people. And even though we might grieve for that loss of self when we lose family members or even a spouse, friends, we will grieve for that loss. That's a guarantee. That's part of the ego conditioning. But what happens is as soon as you create that energetic void within and you leave space, this space that is now occupying a higher energetic, you are a magnet for those people, those situations, those opportunities, those synchronicities to come and enter your energetic field now and stabilize a new frequency of you that you can keep. Instead of vacillating between different octaves of you, you're sending out a fuzzy broadcast to the universe when you do that. When your action is misaligned with the inner shift of who you really believe you are, the authentic expression of you. When those things create coherence, those energy frequencies line up, look out. Because massive synchronicities, opportunities, they all start to show up in your life in ways that you will not even believe. You'll just be in gratitude all the time, like, oh my God, this is so good, it's so good. Another thing that's not talked about very much is that one of the highest virtues of anchoring in unity consciousness that we must be able to stabilize is that of courage. It takes courage to ascend. It takes courage to look at your shadow and deal with it and face it head on and say, I'm done. Thank you for the lesson, downloaded and complete. I don't need to repeat this theme, this story in my life anymore. On to the next chapter. It takes courage to do that. It takes courage to line up what you're doing in your outward reality, and to take inspired action on that, on what you feel is this inner shift inside. It takes courage. To want to show up in love and service of all of humanity, it takes courage. We have to be honest with ourselves. Am I willing to be courageous? I'm going to leave you with that. And I want to wish you all so much love and peace from my heart to yours. I hope that this message has truly resonated for some of you and maybe even bolstered you a little bit to take some action that maybe you wouldn't have taken before. That's my sincere hope and wish. And with lots of love and peace, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye.